Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Shoshanna Gross. I am the Major Events Manager with the Ohio Restaurant Association, and I'm here today with our CEO and President, John Barker.
Hey, Shoshanna, how are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. Thanks for joining us today. We are going to spend a little bit of time talking about the Ohio Restaurant Association's Quick Poll, which is a poll that we've been doing of our members and other folks who have signed up for our daily memo since really the beginning of the shutdown. And we recently just got some new numbers out, so we thought we would take a few minutes to review those. John, what are some of the most interesting statistics that you've seen this week?
Yeah, Shoshanna, it's been interesting. This data has been, first of all, helpful to us to understand the depths of the pandemic and the impact on our industry. We've shared this data with the governor's office at the request of Lieutenant Governor John Houston on a regular basis. I think it's been very helpful to us, as you and I have talked about, in terms of them understanding the impact on restaurants and food service and bars. And so it helped, obviously, when we were trying to move along on getting reopening done in the state. So all helpful. We've shared this with our members and our media. And, you know, it's interesting that as we got in closer and closer to the reopening dates, you and I started to ask members the question, do you plan to reopen and when and so forth? Interestingly, the new data says that 86% of our operators plan to reopen their dining rooms on the 21st or shortly thereafter, as we read really by the end of the month. And that's been confirmed as we've had many one-on-one conversations with operators in the past few days. So that's a good number. That's up from 70% just a week ago. So encouraging that people are beginning to reopen. There are people who need a little more time to get, you know, all the procedures in place, maybe get PPE and things like that. And there are some people who decided they're not going to reopen maybe until June, and we've even heard a few people July, depending on the complications of their individual restaurant or maybe what they do. Maybe some of them have stages, things like that take a little more work, but that's pretty good news so far.
Yeah, I mean, what did you say, 80%? 80 or 86?
86.
86% is up considerably from what we've been hearing. And I think that really does help us with the understanding that restaurant owners and operators are beginning to get a little bit more comfortable with the idea of what's expected of them, and also just that there is the need and the interest from general public to have our restaurants reopening.
It's interesting. We try to correlate this with studies we see coming out of consumer confidence. And there's been several studies asking consumers, would you go back out to retailers? Would you go back out to restaurants? And those started off at pretty low numbers 2 or 3 weeks ago, and each week it goes by, those numbers get a little bit better. The consumer confidence index that just came out actually flattened, which was great because it had been dropping like a rock for the past several reporting weeks, and so that was good. As we look down the survey, Shoshanna, we also know that about 35% of our respondents said that they had temporarily closed restaurants, and that's down. Last week it was 40%, and it had been running at about 50%. So that temporary closure is aligning perfectly with people reopening. And then we do know that roughly between 2 and 3% of our restaurants have consistently said they're not going to reopen. And that's because maybe they were already in a weakened position, or they look at the future and just can't imagine being able to get back to a revenue level fast enough.
Yeah, I would say that the good news about that, as devastating as we know it is for those owner-operators who have had to permanently close, is that number has stayed pretty consistent. We're not seeing a huge increase in operators who are having to close their businesses permanently. And again, instead, we're seeing folks start to really get back to being able to open their dining rooms. And I think we were talking about this earlier, one of the other interesting statistics is some of the delivery options that are continuing to stay in place. For example, curbside and online ordering. Have you seen any interesting technology or tools that people are keeping in place as a result of the delivery options they've been carrying?
Yeah, many of our operators actually even contacted us and asked about new POS systems and contactless processes for their entire operation, particularly at curbside. If you can figure out a way to go contactless all the way up until you literally hand the bag of food to somebody at the curbside, that really gave people a lot of confidence and comfort to go out to restaurants. And so that technology just got accelerated in the past couple months, and we know that more and more of it is coming. We do think, as we talk to people who look out a little bit further, that this was a trend that was already coming, and it just got accelerated and likely to stay. Not that people are not going to stop going to restaurants and sitting inside. It's just that this opportunity to deliver food in a different way, which was limited to certain segments that really did it well. A lot of fast casual restaurants did it really well, and of course, quick serve restaurants did it well with drive-through. But you're seeing more say this has to be a part of our business model.
Well, I think that's great. And just having more options for people to have access to restaurants and different varieties is fantastic for the whole industry. So I know that some of the other concerns that we've been hearing a lot about in terms of when restaurants will open and why or how is related to the Paycheck Protection Program. And we've been hearing some murmurs out of Washington that there might be some extensions to that program. Can you talk a little bit more about what the ORA knows for the future of that?
Yeah, so we've obviously been very involved in this from the very beginning of the CARES Act. The CARES Act came out good, well-intentioned to help small businesses and really a lot of businesses with a number of things, including loans that could be turned into essentially forgivable loans or grants, essentially. And that came out, we were all excited, but then we found out it didn't really work. And the reason it didn't work, 50% of the restaurants were closed, so they had no payroll, so you couldn't really use it for payroll. And then the restaurants that were open, their sales were down so significantly, they had to lay off and cut back. And we had over 300,000 people in the state of Ohio unemployed. So it really didn't work for our industry. So we've been working to try to get some relief. And we now understand that the House is going to vote on Thursday. Speaker Pelosi is going to bring it to a vote. And we believe that we have all the votes to pass this. We've been working on this with a number of our representatives on both sides of the aisle. In Ohio, we have nice support from our members here, which is great. We're not sure what's going to happen on the Senate side. It gets a little more complicated. There seems to be more diffusion on the other side, but if it passes the House, and it needs to go to the Senate side, and we'll be working obviously with our two senators who are supportive, which is great. And Shoshanna, there are a couple things that it's really aimed at doing. By the way, the bill is 6886 in the House. It would eliminate the 75-25 requirement, which means up until now you had to use 75% of the money for payroll. This would eliminate that and open it up so people could use it for things like rent and inventory and things like that, which are really critical. It would extend the covered loan period through the end of the year, at least the House side of it, right? And that would be terrific to give people the opportunity to use it when they actually bring people back and be able to, really make use of it. It would make the loan repayment, if it does stay a loan for an individual business, it would change it from where it is right now at 2 years to a 5-year payback, which would also be critical because many of our operators could not afford to pay back a loan in 2 years. And then lastly, defer payment of employer payroll taxes. And so those are all real critical fixes. We fought very hard for this with the National Restaurant Association, and our fingers are crossed, and we'll know more on Thursday.
So we'll be talking about this as we learn more and as it moves through the House and into the Senate to make sure that our members and everybody who's paying attention to the ORA right now is getting information as soon as we have it.
We'll definitely, Shoshanna, we'll definitely put it out in our daily memo, and we'll even update our social media. So
fantastic. We did want to end with just a few of the operator comments that we've been hearing, and then an exciting new hand sanitizer giveaway that we'll be doing. So go ahead.
Our operators, it's interesting. We asked the question, some open-ended questions in our polls, and we asked people, how did it go this weekend? And generally, I think people thought that it went well. It was really, they were nervous. They were excited to reopen, get the restaurants reopened. And in some cases, we had kind of a slow Thursday, a little better Friday, a little better Saturday as the weather got better. nowhere near where we need to be eventually. You know, we need to get back to 100% sales, and we have a long road to get back, but each step in the process is important. And so that went on. You know, I think our operators are very aware of certain things that are going to, you know, pressure business. That's getting consumer confidence back. That's one of the reasons we did the Ohio Restaurant Promise, to try to get, you know, people to understand the pact between the restaurant and the guest, that we're all going to follow the safe procedures come out from the state. But we also are facing 16.5% unemployment right now, and that puts a lot of pressure on people being confident to go out to eat and things like that, right? We also know that protein costs are through the roof. I talked to many operators in the last couple of days, excuse me, and the cost of beef and pork and chicken are very high because we can't get enough through the processing plants. And so we, you know, have some issues like that. We also know that operators in some cases are struggling getting workers to come back because they are getting, you know, very generous unemployment benefits. And so those are all things that we're working through, and we'll continue to talk about those and hopefully make some progress. What we can do is tell you about a very exciting development. Thanks to our own Laura Morrison, you know, we partner with Ohio Liquor Control and Jobs Ohio. We did this about a month ago, multiple locations around the state where we give out hand sanitizer. And so we have 3 gallons available for everybody who comes tomorrow. And this one will be in Central Ohio. We have done these around the state, but tomorrow, which is Thursday, the giveaway will be at the Giant Eagle, which is at 4747 Sawmill Road in Columbus. That's Thursday, May 28th. And the time is between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. We have highlighted that in our daily memo. We'll have it in again today. Just print that out and bring the piece to that and get in line. It's contactless. You basically pull up and put it in your trunk in your back seat, and there you go, 3 gallons of hand sanitizer. And we hear it's going on the market for $30 a gallon. So this is a pretty good deal, and it's something that the ORA can do to help.
Yeah, is this coming from Watershed Distillery specifically this time?
It's not drinkable, Shoshanna. It's hand sanitizer.
You know, I was thinking that.
Yeah.
Yeah, please don't drink the hand sanitizer. PSA, you've heard it here, folks. Well, thank you, John, so much for our daily dose today. And we'll be back with you tomorrow and Friday with some more information from the Ohio Restaurant Association.
Thanks, Shoshanna.
Bye, everybody.